Very good today.
Hillary Clinton was greeted by the owners of the Merrimack like family. Her husband, Bill, made this place a regular stop over the years, and he's all over their walls.
Oh my gosh, there's my husband. That's great. I love it.
The senator got a warm reception from picture takers and autograph seekers of all ages.
Oh, you're coloring these. That's so cute.
She signed a placemat featuring the caricature of all the presidential candidates.
Okay. There you go, honey.
The cafe kicked off with lots of lighthearted questions.
Do you like Sopranos?
Yes, I do, actually.
Remember the scene where you come into? Well,
yes.
Bill comes in.
That's right. That's right. It's kind of like this. It's a diner near where we live in New York.
No onion rings?
I'm looking out for you. It was such a funny idea that one of my young staff came up with.
So if Hollywood was to do a movie about you, who would play you?
Oh, well, somebody obviously young.
How do you feel about our Red Sox? I mean, you went to school up here, but you are a New York Senator. So.
That's right. I spent years explaining to people how I was both a Cubs and a Yankees fan. Because when I was growing up, my father was a very strong Cubs fan. When I was around 7 or 8, I wanted more balance in my life. And that meant I had to find an American League team that would win. And I also saw a docudrama about Mickey Mantle, which made a huge impression on me.
Senator, what do you do day to day to stay physically fit? Are you out there? I know your husband was kind of famous for jogging. What do you like to do?
Well, I like to walk fast. I'm not much of a jogger. I'm probably the world's slowest runner. Years ago, Bill loves to run, and he wanted to do a 10K. So I said, okay, I'll do it with you. Well, about halfway through, I realized I was last. And so to save a little bit of my pride, I look around, I said, okay, I'm going to walk like I was doing this all the time, right? It was so embarrassing.
So what's the last book you read just for pure pleasure, not for work?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now, I'm reading a biography of Eisenhower by Michael Korda.
So no Danielle Steele, no...
No, but I did read this year this book that has been on the bestseller list, Eat, Pray, Love. Have you read that?
No.
By Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a really good read. It's kind of a girl's book.
You can say chick book.
Yeah, chick lit. It's really a good read. John Grisham is distantly related to my husband. Bill's grandmother was a Grisham, and John Grisham was actually born in Arkansas. So when Bill was president, some genealogist wrote and said, "You're related to John Grisham." He said, "Finally, a relative with money."
Mrs. Clinton was asked to remember the first time she met her husband at Yale Law School.
He had long hair and a beard, and it was red.
Their first meeting was in the library, where she made the first move.
I saw Bill out there, and he was talking to one of our classmates. And so I was looking at him, and he was looking at me. And I thought, I really want to meet him. So I got up, and I walked up to him, and I said, if I'm going to keep looking at you, and you're going to keep looking at me, I think we should be introduced. I'm Hillary Rodham. What's your name?
On their first date, Bill got them into an art museum after hours.
And that was my first experience with Bill's persuasive powers. He found some groundskeeper, and he said, if she and I pick up all the litter, will you let us in? The guy said, sure. And we just had the whole museum to ourselves. And that was our first date.
So what's harder, politics or being a mother and a wife?
Oh, my gosh. They're hard in different ways. I think all of us would say that what we do in our families is the most important work that we have. And, at the end of the day, it's what matters more than anything.
Who's been the most interesting person you've met?
Probably Nelson Mandela is the most inspiring, touching, admirable person that I have met. The 27 years he spent in prison. He went into prison angry, outraged. He said that if he didn't let his hatred go, he would never be free. So I was incredibly privileged to go to his inauguration. I will never forget this. He said, there are many distinguished visitors from around the world, and I welcome all of you to the new South Africa. But there are 3 people that I personally invited here today that I would like to have stand. 3 of my former jailers.
So how did that visit sort of affect your spirit or your views on the world today?
Well, it affected the way that I think about any kind of obstacle or difficulty that I face or that anybody faces. My father went to college on a football scholarship, and I knew I wasn't doing that. He went to Penn State. And my mother never got to go to college. So I was apprehensive and excited. But when I got there, I really felt totally out of place. I just felt like I was not going to be successful, and I called home, and in those days you called home collect, and thankfully my parents took the call, and I said, I don't belong here, everybody is smarter, and everybody is this and that, and I want to come home. And my father said, okay, because I think he missed me, and my mother said, you can't be a quitter.
Hillary Rodham graduated and nearly chose Harvard Law, missing that fateful meeting with Bill Clinton. But she was intimidated by a Harvard Law professor at a career fair.
This guy looks down at me, this professor, and he goes, well, first of all, we don't have a nearest competitor. And secondly, we don't need any more women. Oh. Spring of 1969. So that's why I went to Yale. I said, well, if I'm not wanted, I'm not going to go there. And it was a great decision for all the obvious reasons. I look at my life and I think that it's so fortunate for all of us who came of age then, when all these barriers started to fall. And we almost forget what it took to get to where we are.